Recording. So I'm going to start recording that. We are moving on to assignment 3, which is the floor plan, and that is available on the Blackboard website under lecture 8. You can scroll down to floor plan sample. One thing that's a little bit annoying with this sample is that you can't download it. So you can only zoom in and minimize or increase the resolution in this window. The reason they have done that is because there is a way to import the PDF file directly into AutoCAD, and it'll translate it all to lines for you. Basically, it does the whole drawing for you. Unfortunately, that does count as plagiarism, and it's super easy to detect. But people, it's always tempting to do, and so there was a lot of people having issues getting thrown out and failing because the plagiarism was detected. So they decided that so people aren't tempted, they're just going to make this specific drawing not able to be downloaded. So that's why you can't download it, but you have to zoom in or increase resolution or zoom out in this window. So the way I would start this drawing, I would just open the last drawing we have, and I would just start drawing right next to it in here, because ultimately we are simply gonna, in our viewport, I don't think this drawing has a viewport in it yet, so I'm going to add one. So if this was your drawing before and it was somewhere in here, we're simply going to slide over to the right and draw our new thing in here. And that way you get to save the border and everything else and all the information you've already added to it. You don't have to repeat. So I think we can just dive right into drawing it. Now the strategy I'm going to use for drawing this is I'm going to start with, we have a nice set of dimensions going all the way around the outside. And those dimensions show the main parts of the house. They also show the breakdown of where the openings are for windows, doors, and things like that. And so whenever drawing something like this, I find it's helpful to start from the outside and work your way in. So, because that way you minimize the errors. If the outside all adds up, so for instance, if we start in this corner and make it all the way around the house, and then we end up exactly right on, and the loop closes itself, we know that all the exterior dimensions are correct. And then we can basically start offsetting and slowly working our way inwards towards the center of the house, doing the partitions and all the other stuff, the stairs and everything else, and the potential for error will only get smaller. If you start in one corner and you kind of work your way linearly throughout the house and you keep drawing this way, you may have an error and you try to adjust for it, and then you end up off on the next thing and you adjust for it again, and you can kind of start amplifying your errors as you go, and it gets really frustrating. So that's how I'd like to start. So I'm just going to zoom in. I'm going to start with the top right corner. And so one thing, well, we can look at it later, but one thing you can see in these notes, there's some mistakes in these notes about the walls. But for instance, the garage is done out of 38 by 89 wood studs. So those are 2x4s, which I guess is fine for a garage. It's not an occupied space in the house. But the actual walls of the house are done with 2x6s. So it's a small detail, but it's something that if you don't notice it, it's going to be this constant error that you find repeating in your drawings, and it can get frustrating. So just be aware of that. We'll get to that in a second. So what I'm going to start right now is just start basically drawing the outside of the house step by step. I'll draw the windows in a different layer. I'll just draw a line for them, and then we'll slowly offset our way in to give the walls thickness and stuff like that. I'm going to zoom in one more time. Okay, I'm going to head to my drawing. I'm going to switch to wall exterior, and I think I'll change the layer for the windows. Glazing, it's yellow. I'm going to make it red just so it stands out a little bit more as we draw. Okay, I'm going to grab a line and start drawing. So the first number I have here is 125 millimeters and then 1635. So I'm just going to click and go. So 125, enter. 1635, enter. Now I have a window coming up. So here's this window. It's 1270. So I'm going to switch to my window layer, grab a line, 1270. I'm just going to aim in the direction I want to go and hit enter, escape, back to my wall layer, and I'm going to keep going. 2540, and then another 1270 window. So 2540. Okay, now instead of drawing that window again, I'm just going to copy the one I had because they happen to be the same size. It saves me a bit of time. And I'm just going to go in a single line. Basically, I'm trying to make a loop all the way around the house. It's going to be a little bit of a grind, but it's going to be worth it in the end because it's going to save us a lot of time. So I'm just going to proceed with what we're doing. 1635 and 125. So again, a copy of the other side. So in fact, what I can do here is I can save myself a little bit of time, and it's good to become familiar with these functions. I'm going to mirror, so I'm going to click the mirror button, pick those first two lines I made, and mirror it in the center point of this white line, like so. And in this case, it saved me only 1 second or so, but later on when we are offsetting the walls and adding thicknesses and stuff, the copy and mirror and rotate functions will really save us a lot of time. Is this making sense so far? Are people able to follow? Am I going too fast? No. Okay, I'll slow down. Also, you'll have it in video as a result of this, so if you miss a few details here and there, just be aware you can look at the video and find those items. So now we've gotten to the corner here, and we need to start heading down, but I don't see a dimension. So I'm going to slide to the left, and there should be one here. So 2,000 millimeters down is what I need to do. So back here, grab a line, 2,000. Oops, I didn't quite hit it at the end, so I'm going to move my line so that it's perfectly at the corner. There we go. And now I have another window right here coming up, and that is 1270. Switch to my glazing layer. One, 270. Back to my wall layer. And now I have 525, then a 900 opening for a door, and 100. So I'm going to go here, 525. And now I have a different kind of opening, which is a door. So I'm going to switch to, if we have a door layer, we do, architectural door. And that line is going to be 900 millimeters long. So 900, enter. And then I think we have a 100, yeah, 100 more of brick. Okay, now we're heading left again. And so I need this dimension here. 1323 to the left. 1323. 1575 is the window opening. I want to make sure I'm recording here. Yes, I am. Okay.
Sorry, but here 1223 without the thickness of the wall.
1323 without the thickness of the wall.
There 125.
Yes, but that's correct, but we are just drawing the outside face of the wall. So we're trying to follow.
So we need to add 125 to the top.
So we're right now, I believe we're at this corner here. So I'm going this way. I'm basically trying to stick to the outside face of the wall. And once I have all of the perimeter of the house, I'm gonna start offsetting inwards to give the wall thickness everywhere.
It's like the dimension there for the wall, I guess, would be,
So we did do the 125.
oh,
It should
yeah.
put us in line with this.
I just need that.
So we should, and you'll see, it may be that we're off 125 at the end, and then we will know where the error is. So it's good to keep those kinds of questions in mind. So 1575 for the window. I think it was 1323. I'll look in a second. 1575. Okay, let's check it. So it is, yeah, it's 1323. So the next length is 2217. Now 1575 for another window. And 1010 for another wall. Now, I'm getting pretty close to my existing wall section, so I'm just gonna zoom out a bit, and I'm just gonna move this whole series of lines I've made just by eye a little bit to the right, so it's not really overlapping the other drawing, or there's no danger of it overlapping. Now, we're at this corner right here, so I need to go down again, and in this case I think it's 1633 plus 600. So I'm just going to do it as two lines. One 633 plus 600. I need to zoom out a bit here. Now we're right here, so I need to go 527 to the left. One 575 for another window. And 998 to get to the corner.
How much?
998. So we've gotten to the far left side of the house, so we can now start moving down. So 2827 with some brick wall going downwards. One 890 for the window. And 3683 with another chunk of wall. Or 359 towards the right. One 890 with a window. Two 991 to the corner. and 1205 down. One, 3, 2, 5 to the right. Another 1575 window. So I think there's several of these windows that are that size. So when we draw the window, we should put a copy of it on the side, and that way we can just copy and paste it every time we see that size. We don't have to redraw the window over and over again. 2415 with some brick facade. Nine, 6, 5, another window. $190 to get to the fireplace. Okay, now the fireplace doesn't quite give us dimensions. You can see that we're going to have to do a little bit of guesswork here, where we don't quite know what this distance is. We can guess a little bit. It kind of gives us the dimension from here to here, and then from there, but it doesn't quite give us the dimension. But if you think about it, you have to do a little bit of guesswork to figure out where this fireplace vertically lands in that wall. So you can doubt, just use your best guess. And so we know that this is about 400 millimeters. That looks approximate to it. So I'm going to make a jog in the wall, 400 millimeters down, then follow the dimension, and then 400 millimeters back up. And then I'm just going to proceed. And we'll troubleshoot the fireplace design at a later time, because right now our main objective is just to close that loop to make sure we have all of our outside dimensions correct. And after you have that loop closed, you can sort of improvise within the decisions you've already made. 2230 to the right, and then 400 back up. Again, that's our estimate, so I'm keeping it consistent on both sides. And now 190 to the right. We have another window, another 965 window, so we have two of those. Again, good to note that. So we just copy those windows, we don't have to redraw them. Uh, 645 to the bottom right edge of the house. And now 1400 a vertical up to get to the bottom of the bay window. So now this bay window sometimes is a source of stress as well, because you don't know how far it comes out. And you don't quite know the angle of that line, although I would guess it to be 45 degrees. But for now, again, I would apply the same logic as with the fireplace, where we don't necessarily need to work this out immediately. Our objective, again, is to close that loop. So I would simply look at this dimension, 2340. That's the width of the window. And for now, I would just draw it in as a straight line. We're not going to mess around with it until later on.
Sure, how high was the one you just did right now?
Sorry, can you say that again?
How high was the one line you just did on the right?
2340. So we'll transform that into a bay window later on.
Well, I'm saying that the corner piece, how much?
Oh, this one? 1400, yeah, sorry. So we'll worry about plugging that bay window in later on, and that way we know that everything else around it is correct. If we try to do it as we're going, it again can become this source of compounding errors that create frustration later on. So 1658, another piece of wall after the bay window, and we're getting close to closing this loop now. So we'll see if we made the right decisions. 1658 in terms of following the dimensions. Now there's an 800 millimeter window in here. There is I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I know this part's a bit of a grind, but it will pay off once it's done. 1550 of wall. Now we have a small window here, 300 millimeters, and this detail here is a little bit questionable, but we're going to follow the drawing because that's all we have to go from. I'll explain in a second, so I'll just draw it and then I'll explain what I mean. So 300 millimeters of window in here, then 76 millimeters of brick, which is kind of impractical. It's too small to build a nice brick wall in such a small space. 1000 millimeters for a door. That part makes sense because it's the front door. It's going to be, you know, the biggest door probably in the house, other than the garage door, obviously. Now 76 more millimeters of brick. In this case, it's okay because it's part of a larger wall. 76 millimeters, and then we start going to the right again by 2,360. So 236. So going back to that door here, you don't have to draw anything here. I'm just going to kind of talk a bit about why that detail is probably not correct, but we're going to go with it anyway for now. So in this area here, you can see we have a small window and a door, and then 76 millimeters of this complicated wall, which is kind of impractical, right? 76 millimeters is less than 10 centimeters. That's this wide. So if you can think of a window on one side, door on the other, and you have this much brick, and then insulation, airspace, insulation, plywood, stud, spray foam, drywall. It's all like the wall is this wide, and the area we're building it is only this wide. So this is going to be a very impractical way of building that. It's going to be very difficult to build it in a way that it doesn't have a lot of deficiencies and leak and break apart and do that kind of stuff. So if you ever notice something like that, or you kind of you feel uneasy about drawing it, that's a good instinct. You should always think about, even if it's a seasoned design architect who's drawing it, you should think about, is this practical? How are they going to build this on site? And don't be afraid to ask. And if the person doesn't have an answer, maybe it's a mistake and it should be fixed. My guess is this is a student example, so my guess is that this was one unit actually. And instead of just buying a door, let's say for Home Depot, you can buy a door that has a window, a side window attached to it. You know, you put a little curtain on it, someone's coming up the front steps, you can see who it is. If you don't like it, you pretend you're not home, whatever, right? But I think that's what it is. It's just that one unit. And as the student drew it in, they assumed that this mullion or whatever, that prefabricated separation, this is all one prefabricated unit. They thought that must be brick as well. So I'm guessing that's where the mistake happened. But we're working from this example, so we're going to draw it the way it is. But I'm just trying to put it in your head that if you ever encounter something like that, and you feel, I wonder how if that's accurate or not, it's go with that instinct, don't suppress it. It's a good learning experience for you, and odds are, this happens all the time, so odds are you may actually catch a problematic area, and whoever you work for, or if you're working for yourself, you'll benefit as a result of troubleshooting those things at this stage. It's very cheap to fix this error when you're in AutoCAD. You're paying somebody, I don't know, $30 an hour, whatever it is, to change change it in AutoCAD. So you may spend $15 or whatever fixing it. Once they actually start building it and then you have to redo it, a lot more expensive. And as the client's going to be pretty angry, all kinds of problems happen. So fixing it here, it may be inconvenient, people will roll their eyes and stuff. But just remember, it's always way more convenient to fix it at this stage than after you start building it. Okay, enough said. So we are at this corner here, I think. I'm going to head up and finish the garage. And we'll see if it lines up. So we have a 868 vertical. Now we have our two overhead kind of rolling garage doors, 2745. I'm going to draw them on the door layer, even though they're a different kind of door. I'm going to stay consistent, but I forgot the number. 2745. Okay, now we have a little bit of brick in here, and that's okay. 444 millimeters, that's enough to build a good segment of a brick wall. Now the next door is the same 2745, 2745, so I can just copy it. And again, it's good to get used to copying things, mirroring things, rotating things. I know you feel like, oh, I can just draw it faster, but you'll see as we start to offset the bits of wall, it's going to be so much faster to copy and rotate and move it around as you go, instead of drawing everything bit by bit. Okay, last piece, moment of truth. 506 plus 125. Let's see where we end up. So 506 and then 125, enter, and it looks like we're right on. Now it's okay if you end up, I would say 5-10 millimeters off. It's okay at that corner. That's, you know, it means you made a small mistake somewhere in there, but I wouldn't go crazy trying, like spend 5-10 minutes finding it. If you can't, that's okay, move on. There's going to be some guesswork that we have to do in this plan to make everything work, and so the 5-10 millimeters won't make a significant difference. Question? Okay, got it. So actually, I want to show you something on these because I didn't really troubleshoot that. So let's say you are off and you want to find out how to determine where the error is. So a good way of doing that, if you look at your drawing, we've been working with the smallest, the lower set of dimensions. So the parts that dimension the wall and the window opening and so on. But if you look at one level higher, it gives you the overall dimension. So for instance, this garage from end to end is 8,600. And so I can go to CAD, I can type in DI for distance, and I can click from one end of the garage to the other, and it says 8,600. And so if I have an error, the easiest way to track it down is do the main segments of the house, the overall lengths, and where you find you have where you're different, that's where the error is, and then you can start to zero in on it. So, now some people may still be working their way through this, trying to close the loop here. But if I could get your attention just for wherever you happen to be, and don't worry, all of this is going to be in the video, so you don't have to worry about missing anything. But I just want to sort of show you the next method that we're going to use to work this house out. I'm going to zoom in to this corner, the top right corner, and I'm going to start adding some thickness to the wall. So even if you're still working on another part, this would be a good point to look up and just give me maybe 60 seconds of your time. So I'm going to start filling in this corner of the house. Now I need to make some decisions. We can see here we have a note, and this note has some errors in it, so let's troubleshoot it together. 90 millimeter brick face, that looks about right. 290 millimeter concrete block foundation wall. There's no way there's 290 millimeter concrete block in that wall. That's a mistake. Maybe they left the note in from some kind of a foundation drawing from whatever's below it. Maybe the person doing it thought they have to list the concrete block under it. I don't know. But that I would strongly recommend deleting. I don't think that's correct. 38 by 89 wood studs at 400 on center. Yes, that looks good to me. Low self spray foam insulation between them. Yes, and gypsum drywall on the inside. Yes. So this note looks good, other than deletion of this concrete block. And I would recommend changing. You don't have to, but I'm going to change it to 12mm fiber sheet. You won't do any more if you don't. Now, what's worth? I'm going to scroll down a little bit. In fact, I may have to zoom out a bit. One more thing to note. This garage has 38 by 89, so those are 2x4 studs. So this wall up to here, I think, is built with 2x4 studs. But here you can see the studs get wider. Here the stud wall looks wider, all the way through here, all the way up, and in here. So the main house is actually built out of 2x6 studs. And if we go through this, we should see that 38 by 140 wood studs. Okay? So we have to be careful that when we offset these lines in to get the thickness of that wall, we should only use that wall along these three walls. Here we have to do a slight modification and then use this wall along the rest of the house. It's a small thing, but I mean I've done this project I think a few times already. I've demonstrated for students, and I forget to do it. And you realize I've done 20 minutes of work or half an hour of work, and it's all at the wrong width, and then you have to go backwards and you're moving stuff, and it's fine, you can fix it, but it can get frustrating. So just be mindful that there's two different wall types, and we're starting with the garage wall type. So how to actually draw that? I'm going to use the offset function here. I'm going to introduce you to 2 or 3 different tools here. You're probably already aware of them, but I'm just going to show you how I plan to use them. So I'm going to offset. First I want to offset the brick. So 90. This one comes down 90. This one comes over 90. Then we've got, I think, 25 millimeter airspace. So 25, 25. Now I'm using the offset function again and again. So instead of clicking offset this time, I'm just going to hit enter. That repeats the previous command. So I've saved myself a little bit of time. Now 12 millimeters of plywood, offset, offset. 89 wood studs. I just hit enter because I've already done offset. So I repeat the command. Type in 89. And now I have a whole bunch of lines piling up here. So I need to be careful. I need to understand what is what until I can clean it up. Now last offset, 16 millimeters for the gypsum wallboard, otherwise known as drywall. Okay, now this looks really messy, and I can start extending and trimming and doing all kinds of stuff. But if you take the time to familiarize yourself with this command up here, fillet, this is going to be one of your best friends in this assignment. So I'm going to click it, and then I just do a bit of reading and see what it's asking you down here. AutoCAD will always tell you what it wants in this line here. So it says select first object or determine what you want to do. So we want to join those two lines, and it's asking us what's the radius you want to be on the end. Do you want it to be a curved end, or what do you want? So we're going to click radius and set it to 0. We want it to be a sharp angle, 90 degrees. Now, instead of clicking and doing it and then redoing the command for every set of lines, I'm going to click multiple. I want to do multiple corners all in the same command. So multiple, and I click this line and this line, join it. This line and this line, join it. And I'm going to continue all the way through till it kind of makes sense out of this wall structure. There we go. Now I want to cap it because I know I'm going to have windows coming in here. So everywhere I have a wall opening, whether it's for a door or a window, I'm going to add a line. And now that corner is finished. Okay, did that part make sense? I can repeat it, yes. I'm going to repeat it a few more times, but I just want to show you. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to undo it. Okay, so let's kill it and let's start it again. So, offset. What do we have first? Anyone know what's first? Brick. How many millimeters? 90. Nice. Okay. So offset each one down 90. What layer do we have next? Excellent. Perfect. How about after air? I think plywood, probably. That's the sheathing that goes on the... And I'm going to make it 12. You can also make it 12, or you can follow the drawing and do 10. Of course, I will not take off marks either way. After plywood, what do we have?
89.
Nice. Perfect. 89 millimeter wood studs. I'm offsetting those. And the last layer on the inside of the studs, what do we have?
Drywall.
Perfect. How wide?
6 feet.
Love it. Awesome. Nice work, guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna clean up these lines. Anyone know what command we're gonna use? Fillet. Perfect. Fillet. I'm gonna check the radius. Yes, it's 0. Hit enter. Now I want to save myself some work, so I'm going to click the multiple option. And now I'm going to take my time. I don't want to join the wrong lines by accident. So here it's worth going slow. And make sure you pair every line correctly, because we're going to use this. We're not done with this work that we've done here. We're going to reuse it to save ourselves more time. So now I'm going to cap it, because I know I have a wall opening here. That's a window. I have another wall opening here. That is a door opening. Okay, next place I need more wall is right here. So I'm not gonna offset it again. I'm not gonna, that's mind numbing to keep doing the same thing. So I'm gonna go to copy, and I know that this part of the wall I have right here is similar to what I need here. So I'm gonna grab it, pick a base point, move it to here. Now all I need to do is lengthen it to this point. So I'm going to draw a line. Oops, if my computer survives, okay. Draw a line. If I want, I can fillet the line to make it the right length. There we go. And now I need to extend these guys. Now one of these is okay, here we go, extend. I usually type the command in, but I just draw a line, I touch all the lines I want to extend, boom, done. I didn't have to redraw that. Now, even more efficiently, I have another corner on this side. I don't want to offset all of that again and do all that work again. I mean, I have other things I want to do. I'm sure you do as well. So let's be smart about it. We know that if you remember correctly, this window is the same length as this window, and this segment of wall is actually the same length as that segment. In other words, if I drew a line down the middle, this is a mirror image of that. So let's mirror it, and we'll adjust it after. So this is the most complicated command I think we're going to be using today, or while drawing the house. It's not that complicated, but it's a bit tricky to use it efficiently. People often shy away from it. So mirror, I'm going to click mirror, and first it says select object. So I'm going to pick this side of the wall. Now notice I'm not picking the outside layer. I'm not picking the exterior face of the brick, because we already have that here. I don't want to copy that. Now I hit enter. I've picked my objects, and it says specify first point of mirror line. So basically it wants me to draw the line that I'm going to mirror this in. So I picked the center point of this wall. I picked the second point, and there's one more decision I need to make. It's asking me erase source object. So do I want to erase the part that I mirrored? No, I don't. I want to keep that. There we go. Now again, I have to modify a little bit. So I'm simply going to move the cap, the end part of the wall, down to the window. And I'm going to repeat, use the extend function again. Touch all those lines. Done. And so in this fashion, I can start moving around the entire house, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. It's going to be a little bit of a grind, but within 15 minutes, we're going to have the entire envelope of the building finished. So I'm just going to proceed with that, and then I'll stop again and show you guys how I'm going to address the windows and doors. Yep.
I'm talking
basically what we would want to do. So we can see this, but not. So we want this part, this horizontal part, here. So we can stretch it. That's it.
Okay.
So we don't need the vertical part for this.
Just.
Exactly. And
All
we
that.
take and place it on.
All that, probably the base thing,
And now face it, so if that happens, just hold the circle button down on your mouse. And now hold, are you pushing it down the button? No. That's what we can. Okay, so we can check the settings. So then you can
thing was in front of it.
bump it down.
From the last one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there.
Oh, I just added copy this on.
What I would say is maybe spend, take 5 to 10 minutes. It'll be worth it. You know how to set up that command on your mouse. So that when you press the circle down, it's easy. Like, I'll show you what I do when I press. When I hit the circle button on my mouse, it lets me do this.
Oh, okay.
So I would set that up. And I would, yeah, that would be the main one. I would set that up because that's gonna save you, like, it'll add up to like, maybe even hours for the assignment.
Cause I can, it doesn't, cause like if it doesn't work here, like I can do it here, it just.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's not horrible.
It's up to you, but you're gonna
Yeah,
use it, so it's gonna be almost intuitive, like you're gonna use it like walking.
Yeah.
So it might be worth the 5 minutes of just Googling how do I make my mouse do this, and then you get that part of the area. So if you think about it, if this is a misstep here, it means that 400 millimeters over is another misstep. 400 millimeters over here. So that this is known as the part. It's not the south. The north of that is like 30 to 39. And in this case, we're only asking Okay, nice work, guys. I'm gonna just proceed with thickening up those walls, and then once I get that done, I'll show you how I would address the windows. Yes, the wall has, I just made that mistake. The thing I warned you guys about doing, I just did it. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So once you get to the house, I'll fix the error here. I have 89 millimeters here. This needs to become 140. So difference between 140 and 89 is 51, I think. So I need to move this down 51 millimeters, and then I'll be okay. Thank you. So once you get to this part has 89 millimeter wood studs. Once you get to here, it's 140 millimeters.
Just change the offset.
Yeah, and I already made that mistake. So yeah, I was showing you guys what not to do.
So this is,
Oh. Yeah.
Sorry guys, I don't know what I did there. I'm gonna mute the volume on the screen. Hopefully it doesn't mute it in the video. So once you get to the house, instead of 89 millimeter studs, it's 140. So if you're moving it, I just increase it by 51 millimeters. That should give you the difference. Or you can just offset the wall again and make a new wall. Up to you. Uh, 140.
what about this part? This is the part of the-
Okay, I realize everyone's drawing. I just wanted to show you the next step here. So once you have the thicknesses of your walls built out, like in this example, I'm ready to start inserting the windows. And so if you have, this is the last time I'm going to ask you guys, interrupt you guys, but if you can just give me your attention for 1 minute, I'll just show you how I would address the windows. So here's an example of a window. And you don't have to get too technical about how it works. Basically, the window is simple. So you just need to plug into that opening. And we identify it with the window and the window type. That's the actual important information about it. So we can draw it pretty generically. So the way I usually do it, the mullion, so the frame of the window, I'll make it 50 by 150. So it's a rectangle. Now here you have a little interior mullion as well. So I'm just going to keep it simple and make that a square. Let's say 50 by 50. Near to the other side, and then just kind of connect all the lines, and make sure that the inside part will show the glass here and here to be a triple line, or be 3 lines. And once I add that, I'll draw that first. You'll see that then we just add the outside sill and the inside sill, and that, since we don't have dimensions, we can just kind of guess it. So that's the way I'll draw it, and I'll show you how I'm going to draw it right now. I would switch my layers to glazing, and I'm just going to start by drawing a rectangle. So at 50, 150, that's my rectangle, and I'm going to move it into place. And the way I would move it into place is I'd grab it by the middle, and I'm just going to line that up with, let's say, the plywood layer. The really important thing I want is that the mullion is roughly centered on the airspace. Because this is the cold part of the wall, this is the warm part of the wall. The last thing we want to do is move the window too far in. Then the cold is kind of seeping into the wall and finding its way in. And you don't want it too far, well, you can have it quite far out. Some designers do that. But if you move it too far out past that airspace, now a lot of warm air is moving into that airspace, through the general space of the house, and you may start to get additional or more likely to get condensation in there than you want. So it's good to keep it roughly centered on that airspace. And it's up to you how far in or out you want to put it. If the opportunity presents itself, I always like to stick it as far out as possible, because then you have a longer sill on the inside. And sometimes that's nice. You can put plants on it, it looks, if it's a really big sill, you can put a bench on it or something. But it's a very minor, it's an afterthought in terms of design. But that's where you generally want to place that mullion. So now that I have that there, I'm going to draw the rest of it. I'm going to do that 50 by 50 millimeter square I talked about. Let me try that again. I'll line that up with this. And now I don't want to draw that again. I want to be efficient with my time, so I'm going to mirror it in this line that I drew before. Now I don't need this line anymore, so I'm going to delete that. And now, like I mentioned before, it's just connecting the dots. So I'm going to connect this corner to that corner, this to here. And then, like I mentioned before, for the glass, they're indicating that with a triple line. So I'm just going to do 3 lines here. I guess I could have copied them. I'm drawing them one at a time. Doesn't matter. And now the last decision I have to make, or the last 2 decisions, are how far do I want this sill to go out. And it looks like, I can't zoom in any further, but it looks like it pops out just a little bit. So I'm guessing it's about 25 millimeters outside of the brick wall. And here it's maybe 50 millimeters inside of the drywall. So I'm just going to grab a line, close that opening, and same thing here, and then move it by the amount I just mentioned. So I'm going to move it, this line, by 25 out, and I'm going to move this line by 50 down, and then I'm just going to connect it with a line all the way through, and that's my window. And now, last thing to note here, since I've drawn this window and a whole bunch of other windows are that same size, the closest one being the one right next to it, I can simply grab that whole thing, unselect these lines, and now copy it from here to here. And I can go, and if I have another one, I believe this one is the same size as well. Let me measure it. What's going on here? 1270. How big is this one? 1270. So I can grab it again, copy it, and this time I'm going to rotate it. So the rotate button is right here. Pick a base point. Always read what it wants. So pick a base point. Specify rotation angle. So I'm going to basically indicate I want it to turn like this. Now I've made a mistake. If I turn here, now it's going to be hard to select because these lines are overlapping. So I messed up. I need to go a little bit. I need to give myself more space to turn it. Okay, rotate. Turn it 90 degrees. And then I can just move it into place. Delete this. What's going on here? And I can continue throughout the house like so. The last thing I wanted to show you guys is how to make a door, and then I'll leave everyone alone, I promise. So I needed to make a door here. I believe it's 900 millimeters the opening. I'm going to measure it. 900 millimeters, perfect. And so door, you start off similar as with the window. So I'm going to go at 150, 50. That's my door frame. And I'm going to line it up to the same thing, to the plywood. Copy it to the other side. And now I need to draw the door leaf. And in this case, here it is. So the door opens, if you're standing on the inside, it opens outwards and to the left. Now, I'm going to measure the distance I have between the inside and the inside of the frame. So 800. So that means I want to have the door leaf be at negative 800 by 50. So that long. And then the last thing I need to do is draw the swing. And so the way you do that is you grab a circle where the two rectangles connect. You start and you end it at the other rectangle, and then you simply trim the rest away. Trim here, I like to trim there, and then whatever else is left I just select and delete, and that's my door. And so you can make the other doors, same method. The other door is 1000 millimeters, so it's a different size. So I wouldn't copy this one and modify it. It's tricky with the ARC. It's easier just to draw it again. But then every time you have a 900 door, you just plunk that one in. 1000 door, you plunk in the other one. And that's it. So I'm going to continue drawing the windows and doors all the way around, but that's it. Now you have all the tools you need to finish the entire outside of the house. And once you have that, you can slowly start offsetting inwards to get the interior partitions and stuff like that. But I think that's kind of the most labor intensive part that we just did. Okay, so I think if we can get to this point for next class, where we've got the walls, the windows, and the doors in, we can work on the big window next class. We'll troubleshoot that and the fireplace and the interior partitions. So if you can make this here by next class, then we'll be in good shape. So I'm gonna stop the video here, upload it, and that way everyone will have access to it.